Hey everybody. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through my entire Nintendo 3DS game collection. Or as many of the games as I can possibly cover, because by this point I have enough games to miss a couple here or there. But yeah, this is my entire collection as of 2024. So for this video specifically, I'm going to cover all the physical games I have, both in box and loose, as well as the games that I have on my 3DS. Now, I have not modded my 3DS, so all the games you see on there, I did, in fact, actually buy. I spent a lot of money, but uh, thankfully, a good chunk of those games were on sale when I got them. I do regret getting them, admittedly, um, we'll, but I'll discuss in more detail when I get there. There's also going to be a couple anomalies here, which I'll get to as well. But first things first, let's just get the ball rolling here. First, I have here Chibi Robo Ziplash for the Nintendo 3DS. I got this several years ago, pretty cheaply too. This game, yeah, it obviously did not do very well, so that's how I got it so cheap. It I actually have I actually did an unboxing video of this several years ago, but yeah, this is the game that basically was marked the end of Chibi Robo because, well, it was a pretty by the numbers 2D platformer that went against that was not that was basically like a I don't want to say filler, but it was just a stopgap title whose sole existence um, is just to be there for to have something to release. It wasn't like, say, all the other Chibi Robo games that were um, I don't even know what Chibi Robo was about. It's like you go around in a 3D world and collect stuff or something. I don't even know, because I haven't played the other games, and I don't think I have a reason to now because, well, the franchise is obviously not coming back. But yeah, like I said, it also comes with Amiibo, um, which I have hanging with all my other Amiibos. But aside from that, I don't really have anything else to say other than, go watch Scott the Waz's video on this game if you want to know more about it. So let's handle the first pile over here. First, okay, there's now these games are not in any particular order. I'm not even going to bother anymore with that because I do have a spreadsheet that tells me when I got which game first. And honestly, guys, if you have a massive collection, make a spreadsheet. And make a spreadsheet of what games you have, when did you get them, and even when you sell or trade the games, also keep that in mind so you don't end up accidentally buying two copies of the same game or whatever. So first game I got here is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Now, this is a game I've heard lots and lots about. It's just I never actually played it and the thing that really turned me off from playing it um, is the time mechanic in the game. Like, you have 3 days. You basically have 3 days to save the world, or I don't know. I don't know how long in game it actually is, but the idea of being on a time limit kind of turned me off when I first heard about it back in the 2010s. The first time I heard about it was through Some Call Me Johnny's video on YouTube. But I've since um, I've since come around to the whole time mechanic, or limited time mechanic, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, so I play Persona 5, which only gives you 2 slots to do activities, and I enjoyed Persona, and I also heard Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13 does it as well. So hopefully it won't be too bad. I mean, I'm kind of, I've lost plenty of time having to restart stuff in RPGs, so hopefully it won't be too bad here. But yeah, I actually paid I pretty much paid like close to full price for this, which I kind of regret. I could have gotten this much sooner for a slightly lower price, but oh well. I mean, it's the original box art. It's not like the Nintendo Select one, which some people don't like. I don't mind it as much as some people, but it does kind of make the artwork feel cluttered. So that's Majora's Mask. Oh yeah, it's actually the only Zelda game I haven't 3D Zelda game I haven't touched. Yeah, I've touched every other Zelda game, in whether that be starting the game up, just going to the menu, but I haven't touched this one yet. Hopefully, hopefully that changes soon. This one's not actually mine. This is actually my sister's. Style Savvy Trendsetters, or Fashion Boutique, as it's called in other regions. I don't know. But yeah, this is the second entry in the franchise. There's actually several more entries. I think they even got one on Switch too, which is interesting. But yeah, this is you just I don't even I'm not even sure what you do. Like you're like yeah, you create your own fashion dynasty. Again, it's not my copy, it's my sister's. Oh yeah, this one I also got for my sister. Animal Crossing New Leaf. Yeah, this was me and my sister sunk a lot of time into this game. Now I have here the Nintendo Select version, but which I sort of regret getting. See, in the game you're the mayor, but if you play as the mayor. However, if you have a second, all subsequent players of the game cannot create their own save file, so they are basically just residents of the town. Or and so basically, I got my sister a second copy of the game, which just so happened to be the Nintendo Select copy. Yeah, yeah, one of the few times where buying a second copy of a game makes sense, sort of. And we actually spent a bit of time transferring all her stuff because she did a lot of stuff in my town, even more so than me. I haven't played the newest entry, New Horizon, which doesn't seem to have added too much, I guess. But one thing I do regret is not waiting a little bit longer, because they did actually update Animal Crossing New Leaf like 3 years after the game's initial release, with new content, and they even gave the game a new physical copy, which included the new update included, which unfortunately this copy does not have. So keep that in mind when you're going out and getting Animal Crossing New Leaf on 3DS. Next up, we have a Skylanders game, Skylanders Giants. Yeah, I actually put the price tag on here, $10, and I think I did a video on this like so many years ago now too. What's interesting about the 3DS version is that they're completely different from the console versions. Um, does it? Which does so. If you're a Skylanders fan, I guess you could give these games a chance. I mean, you can actually jump in these games, something you could not do in like the early entries, I think. But yeah, um, it's is it worth it? Well, they're by the numbers. They're pretty standard platformers, I guess. If you can find them cheap, then yeah, go ahead, play them. I know that it's becoming a bit harder and harder to get the figures these days, because obviously people are hanging on to them, reselling them, or you know, uh, there's just not many around, I guess. Actually, not at least not for me, anyways. I remember they used to sell a lot of the figures in the like the dollar store, which I occasionally see from time to time, but they're not the ones I want or necessarily need. It's actually one last thing. It's actually remarkable. Almost every single game in the franchise is available on the Nintendo 3DS, except the last one. Um, every entry has made an appearance on a handheld, but but on the 3DS specifically, 5 of the 6 games released annually made it onto the system, which is quite remarkable. The only one that didn't make it is Imaginators, which obviously they did not have to make a handheld version because, well, they just brought the console version to Switch. Yeah, next up we have Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. I heard a lot about this back in the 10 years ago when this was first released. I remember Nightwing on YouTube. He talked about how this game sold like 2 million copies in like the span of 48 hours or something like that in Japan alone. And and I was wondering at the time, if this game's selling so well, why do we have to wait until early 2015 to get it? And of course, it would not be until a while later that I finally understood, oh, localization takes a lot of time. And this was actually one of the launch titles for the new 3DS, the one with the faster processor and better 3D effect. I'll be honest, I've tried to get into Monster Hunter over the years, but I could never quite do it. I bought several entries in the franchise, so maybe, hopefully, I will sit down one day and it'll start to click with me, because I can see how it can be appealing. I just haven't quite gotten into it. Oh, right. Before I forget, yeah, the Nintendo 3DS's online service, and by extension the Wii U, is shutting down by the end of the month. So, get those play sessions in while you can, because that's the last time that you're going to be able to play any of these games online, unless they re-release these games for modern platforms. Something that Capcom seemed to not want to do necessarily. They've made so many of these Monster Hunter games, and yet when it comes to re-releasing them, they almost never do. They just end up making a new entry instead. And speaking of re-releases, yeah, I have here Resident Evil Revelations, specifically the first print runs, because as you can tell, Revelations is spelled incorrectly on the box, indicating that this is a first print run. So keep that in mind when you're buying this on 3DS, because if it's spelled like this, you know it's a first print run. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. It's the only Resident Evil game that I played and beaten. But because it's one of those, because of how intertwined the stories are, I didn't really understand the story uh, outside the base general premise. Something's happening, but I didn't quite understand, unfortunately. Um, I need to actually go and play some more Resident Evil games, but I just haven't been able to convince myself, because, well, some of them are just a bit too archaic with their tank controls, but also maybe a little too scary for me. I'm just not a fan of horror games. This game, on the other hand, definitely one of the best looking 3DS games, period. Hands down. It looks incredible. Um, this game, and unlike Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate over here, it actually got ported to a wide variety of platforms, so you can play this practically anywhere. I mean, although the 3DS version is still pretty good in its own right, so give it a shot if you want to play on the 3DS. Otherwise, you can pick it up on literally any other console for pretty cheap nowadays. Next up, we have Pokemon Y. Now, this is not... Now, I actually printed out this box because, unfortunately, the game did not actually come with the actual box art. That's unfortunately how it goes when you buy games from GameStop. They don't give you, like, the original box sometimes, which sucks. Oh, yeah, I don't even have the cartridge in here. Shoot. I must have put it somewhere. I think it's actually... Oh, no, I think... I gotta go and find it, because... Yeah, I gotta go find it. I must have put it in one of my other systems. But yeah, I actually do have Pokemon Y. In fact, it's conveniently ordered, so I'm just gonna pull them all out here. So I have Pokemon Y, I got Pokemon X, Pokemon Omega Ruby, which, yeah, okay, thankfully I got the Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, actually, oh no, yeah, it's actually, yeah, my mistake. I'll get to that in a moment, but yeah, I got Pokemon Sun and Moon, Omega Ruby, X and Y. I don't have Alpha Sapphire or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon, but basically I got these when GameStop was getting rid of these games. Surprisingly, like they were just selling them off, trying to sell these off for a very low price, and I was shocked to see them so low because Pokemon games generally don't depreciate in value. They always are the ones that stay very high. So it was quite shocking to see these games being priced so high. But I guess they just wanted to make space for new inventory, so that's why they were selling it so cheap. And this is probably the last time you'll get to see prices like this because, oh boy, nowadays the Pokemon Company, they're more than willing to charge full retail price. And by full retail price, I mean like full retail price of a home console game for their Pokemon titles. So, Pokemon titles used to be like $40 to $50 during the DS and 3DS era. Yeah, it was mostly $40, but then they bumped it up to 45 and then eventually 50 because the changes in the exchange rate. And yeah, now been bumped up to like a full $80, which is it's basically 60 US dollars. But here in Canada, it's $80 plus 13% tax. That brings it up to like $90, which is quite expensive. And considering that they often release it in two different versions, you just effectively doubled the cost of these games, not necessarily the quality, which I've heard has kind of been waning these last several entries. I've seen the issues, the videos. Like it does not look good. Like these games don't look as good as they could be. They look more something in line with an HD uh, an HD 3DS game, a 3DS game in HD, and so on and so forth. But before I get there, I'm I'll try one of these games. I still have yet to actually play and complete a single Pokemon game in my life. I never did. Yeah, and I and as Adam Corley of Figure It Out Productions mentions, it's a franchise that becomes harder and harder to get into the older you get because of how, I guess, I mean, obviously these games were targeted towards people who who are already playing these games as a kid. So if you grew up with them, you're obviously gonna like them. And but for me, I don't have as much of a nostalgia towards them as some people do. I did watch the show, but from here and there. But in terms of the games, I have practically no experience. Okay, so next up, so you're probably wondering why I have a second copy here. It's not actually a second copy. So I actually bought. Yeah, this is actually a DS game. So a couple of my cases here are have DS games because the people who sold me these games put them in the 3DS cases. I don't know why exactly. I guess they didn't want the case, or they didn't have the actual DS case, and they just chucked it in whatever case they wanted. I don't know, but yeah, this is not actually a case for a 3DS game. I'm just putting this in there. In fact, I'll probably just stick one of my other loose copies in here now that we're doing this video. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll stick. I'll do it later. I'll just put this to the side for now. Next up, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. Yeah, I remember playing the demo for this a while ago and being impressed. Being somewhat impressed, I guess. Um, I didn't get into Kingdom Hearts until about 2014, 2015. Yeah, around 2014, which is when I played the HD collections on PS3. And oh boy, I certainly got myself into something, because while I do think gameplay wise it's really good, the story for some leaves a lot to be desired. One of the biggest criticisms is that for a while, up until the HD collection, is that you have to buy like half a dozen different consoles just to understand the story, because unlike other series where the spin-offs are often irrelevant, this is one of the franchises where the spin-offs actually matter. And so if you haven't played, if this is your first Kingdom Hearts game, you're not going to understand the story whatsoever. Like if you don't care about the story, fine. Gameplay wise, it's really good, even on 3DS. But considering how the story is an important part of the games, you might not enjoy this as much unless you have played the other games. Now, by this point in time, the game has been remastered for modern platforms, so you don't even have to play this anymore, and that's probably for the better, since unless you don't mind playing it on a handheld, uh, there's really no reason to play it. It is a little worse because this there's this is the screen on the camera on the 3DS is rather zoomed in on everything. And if you're not just playing it with a regular 3DS, it's even worse because obviously you don't have a second analog stick as well. So the HD version, fixes issues in the three in the 3DS version. Plus, not to mention the fact you can actually play the whole franchise on one system now, which is great. Um, in terms of content, yeah, it's relatively the same. This is one of the few games that has in the Kingdom Hearts franchise that has content parity across all platforms. Like this isn't like Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 that got on PlayStation 3 where they actually where yeah, this isn't like the first couple of Kingdom Hearts game where that got updated versions that were exclusive to Japan but did not make it over until they remastered the game. So, yeah, 3DS version fine enough, but obviously get the HD version if you can, or I'm sure you could. It's just if it's your preference. Next up, Codename Steam. Now, this one was done by the same folks by Intelligent System, the same people who did the Fire Emblem franchise. Now, interestingly enough, I actually bought this game for $5 originally, because apparently it sold really poorly, which is rather unfortunate. So the game itself, the premise is that you're playing as an anime version of like all these historical figures, including Abraham Lincoln, and you're dealing with aliens in like the 1860s or whatever. I actually found it a bit. I found the game interesting, but unfortunately, for a lot of other people, I guess it just didn't click with them. But yeah, I originally got it for $5, which I then traded, and it's only recently that I got a new copy for $10. So yeah, not too bad. It also has some amiibo functionality too with the Fire Emblem amiibos, so there's that. But yeah, this was certainly an interesting game, to say the least. Crush 3D. Now this game is actually, I did not know this for the longest time, but this is actually this game originally came out on PlayStation Portable, but got a 3DS version that I think is completely different in terms of story, anyways. In terms of gameplay, I think it's relatively the same, except now the game utilizes the 3D effect quite a bit. Yeah, this was one of the first games I tried uh, through one of the first demos I played on the 3DS, and I actually really liked it. I almost picked it up several times, but I never bothered to do so until, well, very recently. But yeah, it's just fun, for I think, yeah, $12. I think it's all. I think it's a fine distraction. Okay, next up we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. Now this was an interesting one because this is the only new 3DS exclusive game that I have. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. It's it was a second chance for the franchise for the game to get a new audience, and I don't know how well it's sold because obviously this was a launch title for the new 3DS alongside Monster Hunter 4. But unlike Monster Hunter 4, you cannot play it on the old 3DS, so I'm sure that must have had a negative effect on sales. But aside from that, it is very much Xenoblade Chronicles, the original Wii version that is, but in portable form with a few extra like additions, like amiibo support. But aside from that, unless you like really like the old art style, uh, uh, and the novelty of playing a full fat Wii game on a handheld, really, I guess get the HD version, the Nintendo Switch version. Sorry. As for me, I'm actually having trouble deciding whether I want to try again and get into the 3DS version or just go with the HD version, and it's largely due to the change in art style. The change in art style makes the game more in line with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where they really leaned in on the anime aesthetic, for better and for worse. It just I feel like with the original Wii aesthetic, everyone blends in a bit better, but that's just me. I've tried multiple times to get into this. I always gave up a couple hours in. I've heard it's a really, really good game though, and it's also a very long one, long and also really comprehensive. That really stretched both the Wii and 3DS hardware to the very limits. As for me, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm still just gonna let this one sit for a while, probably, unless I get like a cheap copy of the Switch release. I'm probably gonna hang on to this for a while. Oh yeah, the Switch version also adds some extra content as well. So I guess yes, it is by default definitive if you want to play that extra content. But me, I wouldn't mind playing this. It's just obviously it's a very very long game, so I wouldn't want to play this and then have to go to the HD version and start again, or just to play that extra content. But anyways, let's get. Okay, I'm gonna show off 3 games now. Actually, let's go all 4. We'll do all 4 at the same time. So I got Sonic Generations here, the first Sonic game on the 3DS. I and a lot of other people were disappointed that this was not a 3D game. It's a 2D game, similar to Sonic Rush. It's an okay version of Generations. Definitely get the HD version, or better yet, just wait for the new remaster that's coming out later this year. That's also coming with Shadow. But yeah, it is a. I sunk a lot of time into this because this was like the only game I had at the time. So I enjoyed it. Definitely have some bias towards it. I spent so much time going through the levels over and over again. In fact, one of the very first video I posted on this channel, I believe, was of Sonic Generations. I actually performed a glitch in this game that caused 2 Sonics to show up on screen at the same time on the result screen. It was it was so bizarre seeing that. But yeah, Sonic Generations on 3DS. It's completely different to the handheld version. In fact, all these games are different to the console versions. But unfortunately, for both this, Lost World, Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal, and Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, they're objectively the 3DS era of Sonic seems to have been rather disappointing in comparison to the DS and even the GBA. Sonic Lost World on 3DS, while I personally enjoyed it, I know a lot of people did not enjoy it because how long the levels lasted. Apparently they thought it was a good idea to rely upon a lot of the 3DS's. They wanted to take advantage of the 3DS's hardware, like the gyro controls. The gyroscope. What do you call it? The gyroscope, I guess. I can't remember, but you had motion controls. You had the special stages, which some people considered like the absolute worst special stages because you got to move your body around and get physically sick. But yeah, I still enjoyed my time with it. If it weren't for like some of the level design, I think it's a pretty fine game. Although the story, it's very bare. They also removed some cutscenes in this version for some reason. I don't know why. So now we got Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal and Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. Yeah, what can I say about Sonic Boom that hasn't already been said? This was a Western attempt at Sonic, and it failed spectacularly. Mostly the Wii U version. The 3DS versions were okay, but as as reviewers, some call me Johnny, says they feel like one and done games. Like and what's even worse is that in the case of Fire and Ice, take a look at the spine. They actually, if you look at the spine here, they actually forgot to change up the spine. So the spine for Shattered Crystal was reused for Fire and Ice. And yet, yeah, so they forgot to actually change the spine, the logo on the spine. So it shows the Fire and Ice logo here, but here it's the Shattered Crystal logo. I paid a pretty penny just to get this game, just to get Fire and Ice, and all you get extra is a DVD that contains a couple episodes from the TV series. I think 3 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes from the TV series, and that's it. If it weren't for the fact that I was a Sonic fan, I probably would not have gotten it at that high of a price. But yeah, Sonic Boom. So much potential, and yet it failed. Okay, next up we have Pro Evolution Soccer 2012. Not much to say. I got this from a dollar store for $4, brand new. It's pretty heavy too because it has a whole bunch of manuals inside. It even has the Nintendo DS Wi-Fi connection booklet inside, because apparently this game released so early in the 3DS's life cycle that they are still using that for 3DS games, I think. But yeah, what else? It's Pro Evolution's. It's a soccer game in handheld form, and it's rather unfortunate to see what happened in Pro Evolution Soccer recently. I heard the more recent entry was really bad because they changed game engines, and obviously it just didn't work. They were trying to cash in on the, I guess, free to play live service model, and I don't hear much about Pro Evolution Soccer nowadays at all, if ever. But yeah, you're probably going to get a better experience playing this game than one of the newer ones, but I wouldn't know because I barely even touched this one. Next up, Art Academy Lessons for Everyone. This one's actually, I gave that to my sister, but yeah, I don't think she's barely touched it. The first Skylanders games, which this is my introduction to the franchise. Yeah, this one was. It's also worth mentioning that the 3DS portals are different to the console versions, at least in the later entries. Like the first 2 entries, you can actually plug it. You can actually reuse the entries for the console version, but starting I think with the 3rd entry, the portals are separate. So just keep that in mind. Next up, we got. Maybe I can do that. Yeah, let's do the 3 Mario games together. I have Mario Tennis Open, which is an okay tennis game. Things get kind of repetitive after a while. Mario Kart 7, which is good, but I'm going to be honest, there were things about the DS version I actually like better. Or even the Wii version, too. Like, there's less characters here than the Wii version, which is not great. But honestly, by this point, you're probably better off just playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That is literally the best Mario Kart game you can possibly get right now because of just how much content there is in that game. And of course, Super Mario. Who could forget Super Mario 3D Land? I actually have 2 copies of this. One of which I have a loose copy right here of the game. This one I got. I actually forgot about where I got this now. You tend to forget after a while, but yeah, I originally got it the first time. I traded it, and then this is the 2nd copy I got, and this is the loose copy is the 3rd one. Yeah, it's a really fun. What can I say that hasn't been said about 3D Mario? It's great. Although, and this is actually one of ironic. This is one of the best implementations of the 3D effect. Period. It's such a shame, however, that it was just a fad, and the fact that this was not included in the 3D All Stars collection, along with Super Mario Galaxy 2, which kind of sucks that this is basically abandonware by this point. But oh well. Oh right, almost forgot. New Super Mario Bros. 2, which I recently got. Yeah, this came out in a very interesting time. We had 3D Land the previous year, new Super Mario Bros. 2, we had new Super Mario Bros. U, And then we had 3D World on Wii U the following year. Yeah, we got a lot of Mario back 10 years ago. And one of the big criticisms of this game is just how easy it was. Like, the main emphasis of this game is coins. The problem is they don't adjust the difficulty in any way. It's like, so like it's almost impossible to see the game over screen in this. Next up, we have we got some RPGs here. We got Fire Emblem Birthright, Conquest, and Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. I played a bit of this. I haven't gone too far in it. Haven't touched Conquest, and I certainly haven't touched Echoes. I did buy the DLC for this, which is basically the third route of the game. There's actually a cartridge which comes with all three routes, but unfortunately that cartridge is extremely expensive to get your hands on. As for these games themselves, I actually got a really good deal with them back when I got these in 2017. I got these two. So the seller, I was using this really obscure app called Carousel, which my university was pitching to everyone, and yeah, they were offering $25 for this, and for $30 I got both, and obviously I got both. $30 for 2 Fire Emblem games. That's awesome. As for the Fire Emblem games themselves, well, one of the criticisms with some of the recent Fire Emblem games is that they're, I guess they obviously, they're since they are based on, like, they have that Japanese anime aesthetic. They obviously lean a lot on the anime trope, something that can be a bit off-putting to a lot of people. Me, I didn't pick up on that fact until like years later when I actually started watching a lot of anime. And that's when I began to realize, oh, wait a minute, all these characters are either archetypes, are anime archetypes, or a lot of the tropes and cliches in the story come from anime. So yeah, I've yet to actually get to even finish one of these games yet. I've been meaning to, but I just haven't. And honestly, I kind of regret putting it on the permanent, on not using the new game mode, which a lot of the new games implement, where your characters do not die if, permadeath, which basically means that if your character dies, they're dead for the rest of the. They're no longer playable for the rest of the game. So basically, you have to reset the game to try again. Otherwise, they're going to be gone for the rest of the game, and you don't get to see their story beats. But yeah, that's basically Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem games. I hope at some point they bring them over. And actually, before I forget, yeah, I also have Fire Emblem Awakening, which I got which I actually got recently. Unfortunately, it's only a loose copy, but for $30, it's not too bad. Although I did eventually see a listing for the same price with the actual case, which kind of sucks. But oh well. Yeah, $30. I got Fire Emblem Awakening here as well. I got this only very recently. I was very impressed by the demo when I first played it back 10 years ago. So much so that I actually went back and played the GBA games and even the GameCube game. I never actually did beat the first Fire Emblem game on GBA. I kind of soft locked myself because I didn't have powerful enough party to deal with one of the enemies, so I kind of got stuck there. So yeah, I played and beaten 2 of the games. I think Sacred Stone I beat, and Path of Radiance I beat on GameCube. As for how I actually played them, well, I actually played them on my modded Wii. Because obviously I'm not going to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on these. That and also it's just that and also actually no. I actually remember seeing a copy of Path of Radiance in like a thrift store, but then unfortunately the game was missing inside. I think somebody had either stolen it, or it was just an empty case. And then one time I actually saw a copy of Radiant Dawn on Wii for $15 on a shelf, but obviously I didn't have a lot of money back then, so I didn't pick it up. And what do you know? Somebody else picked it up, and I lost out on that one. didn't change the fact that I was still playing it on, that I ended up playing it on my modded Wii anyways. But yeah, that's enough Fire Emblem for now. Let's actually move on. Next up, we have Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. Now, this one caught my interest. Um, like so many years ago, because at the Walmart near my house, they kept having, they always had this copy, a special edition of the copy that was just sitting there for the longest time. But I never bothered to pick it up, and I kind of regret it because now it's hard to get that special edition. Uh, Surprisingly, this game got a sequel recently. Um, and unsurprisingly, it didn't seem to have sold very. It did not review very well. It did not sell very well, and I have a strong feeling that the reason it didn't do so well is because, well, it has to do with the fact that they dropped the Shin Megami Tensei moniker, but they also called it Soul Hackers 2. And unlike Persona, which has an established, which is a much more established franchise now, there was nothing to get the ball rolling, aside from the fact that you have a few hardcore people playing this on 3DS. Still haven't touched this game, but to my understanding, this is actually a remake of a Sega Saturn game, which is interesting. I'm definitely gonna try it out at some point, but for now, it's gonna be on the back burner. Oh yeah, so I already covered these 3 games, but might as well get them out of the way. I did this. I picked up these games very recently. I even did a video on it. So I got Lego Batman 2, Lego Batman 3, the Lego Movie video game, and Yokai Watch. Yeah, so these games, these are, this was when you'll notice with pretty much every handheld iteration up until the Switch of all the Lego games that they're all very different. They've all played very differently to the console version, and honestly, I actually had a lot of fun playing Lego Batman 2 on the DS years and years ago. A 3DS version is just a better looking version of that, so yeah, it's basically the same thing but just better looking. And yeah, they're fun. I actually enjoyed them. In the case of Lego Batman 2, I actually enjoy this more than the HD version, because the console version, because I wasn't really used to the whole open world concept at the time, so I kept getting lost everywhere I went. So if you want a more traditional adventure, that goes stage to stage, then the handheld versions of all the Lego games are good choices. I actually have a case here. Yeah, like Pokemon Moon, I also have a case here. It does the second case. Yeah, it's not actually a second copy. It's just, yeah, the person who sold me this game just put it in the case. So yeah, that's 2 games. The 2 games now, that DS games that are being sold to me as 3DS games. All right. So next up, yeah, the OK Watch. It's really unfortunate what happened to this franchise, because for a brief moment it actually rivaled Pokemon. But the thing that really killed this franchise was the fact that it took so long to localize it. So a lot can happen in a couple years, and unfortunately, by the time the second and especially the third game came out, like the 3DS was already at the tail end of its life cycle. And they did, and in the case of the second game, they tried, I think they actually released like 3 different versions of it, and I don't think any one of those sold particularly well. It also didn't help, and not even the anime could save the series, which also had its issue, because they actually changed voice actors, and the story also became, much like Pokemon, very very samey, I guess. But yeah, it's rather unfortunate that the franchise is pretty much non-existent now in the West. They made a Switch port of the first game that has yet to get a worldwide release. Same with the fourth game too. Okay, Super Smash Bros. For 3DS. What can I say about this that hasn't already been said? I poured well over 100 hours into this. Unfortunately, you can no longer get the DLC fighters. So if you still have the DLC fighters installed, congratulations, you now have something that is going to be increasingly rare unless you know mod the game. Yeah, one thing I liked is that it actually includes a manual contains that actually shows off a good chunk of the fighters. I was so shocked to see this game selling for so cheaply, considering that this is a first-party Nintendo game, and I was seeing it for like less than $20. That is so odd to see because we're so used to seeing Nintendo games. I'm so used to seeing Nintendo games not depreciate in value. But yeah, this is my start into the franchise, along with Brawl. I think I was actually disappointed that it didn't have a story, but hey, Smash Run's a pretty good mode too, which unfortunately has not made a return, sadly. Who knows? Maybe in the next Smash Brothers game. Link Between Worlds. Yeah, this one's I heard. Yeah, a lot of. Yeah, this is the shiny cover art edition. So you'll notice that it looks gold. There's another variant that's just the regular copy, you know, with the proper colors, and then there's the Nintendo Select copy as well. So yeah, three different variations of the cover exist. I actually got the poster for this game from Club Nintendo when it was still around. Yeah, I didn't get this game until like very late, until the 3DS was basically dead in the wall, effectively discontinued. And yeah, it looks really fun. I actually still need to get through this. I'm actually on my second playthrough of A Link to the Past right now on through Nintendo Switch Online, and you know I like to go in some sort of order sometimes with my games so that I get a good idea of how much the franchise has improved. So I won't be touching this for a while. Next up, Pilot Wings Resort. Yeah, this is a launch title for the system, and yeah, $40 just to be able to play as your Mii's. Now, I was actually piqued. This one actually piqued my interest because of the Mii's, but I had no idea that this is a part of a franchise that that's had roots from the N64 days. I think it's the N64 days. But anyways, yeah, uh, I picked this up for about $15, and yeah, it's I think this is the more appropriate. $20 is like the more appropriate pricing. Like this was a launch title for the system, and yeah, the 3DS definitely suffered uh, because it didn't have games that were like that were more like this. It had games like this more so than it had games like this at launch. Thankfully, the situation improved, and the 3DS did end up doing well. Sadly, the same could not be said for the Wii U, which is rather unfortunate. Oh yeah, I also have Star Fox 64 3D, a remake of the Nintendo 64 title. My friend was really into this game growing up. Still is, I think. Of course, we also had Star Fox Zero, which was for a lot of people had a lukewarm reception. I know somebody who actually really likes it, but me, I haven't actually gotten to sit down and just play through a Star Fox game beginning to end yet. But I know for a fact that Star Fox 64 is like the best game in the franchise, which is which is a little sad when you think about it. I mean, you'd think that they would have um, been able to take what made this game good and and expand on it, but unfortunately, like subsequent entries had their fair share of issues that prevented them from being as good as this, at least from what I've heard. Ah, yes, Tomodachi Life. I kind of picked this one up on a whim. It was coming out, and I just randomly picked it up, and my sister really got into this one. I think they actually did a couple successor games to this, which I have yet to try out. But yeah, it's interesting. Next up, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. So this is actually a second copy of a game the second copy that I got. The first copy I traded in a while ago, I think. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this game. But then I was bummed out because my 3DS shoulder button wasn't working, so I could not actually play this game. Um, Now, I did play the first game, I did play the first game, and I actually, for a time, I actually liked the second game more. But I don't know. I think maybe now I might enjoy the first game more, just because it has had, as somebody else puts it, had mentioned to me, the first game had a much more was much more scarier. This game feels more cartoonishly scary. I can see, and I can see how the mission based structure kind of turns some people off. They just want to be able to go throughout the entire mansion, explore, instead of being relegated to a bunch of missions. This game's also getting a remaster soon, later this year, in a couple months. Yeah, so and unlike the 3DS version, they're actually just calling it Luigi's Mansion 2. So when this game was first unveiled, it was called Luigi's Mansion 2, but for North America, they changed the title to Dark Moon, probably so that fans wouldn't be wondering, oh, wait, do I have to play the first game in order to play the second game? Well, no, no. And it, but they've seemed to abandon that. They're kind of saying, you know what, let's just call it Luigi's Mansion 2 to make it simple. And yeah, that's what they're basically doing for the remaster. And the remaster seems fine. It looks, I guess, better, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. It is still a good game, regardless. Okay, so that's all my actual box copies. And boy, we spent quite a bit of time in this video, didn't we? But let's keep moving. I have some loose copies here. I have 4 loose copies, so I already mentioned 2 of them, 3D Land and Fire Emblem Awakening. But I also got Skylander Swap Force, which I recently got and also did a video on. Unfortunately, I don't have the portal for it, so I can't even play the game, sadly, unless I use the old save file that they have installed already. But unfortunately, that I don't want to do that. I want to actually be able to enjoy the game, and sadly, I can't unless I get a 3DS portal proper that actually works for this game. Next up, I also have Puzzle and Dragon. Let me read this title. Okay. Yeah, Puzzle and Dragon Z plus Puzzle and Dragon Super Mario Edition. Yeah, apparently this is like 2 games in one. I was actually, this one had my interest because, at the time I thought, hey, we got Super Mario Brothers in a spin-off title. That's pretty neat. I actually tried out the demo. Unfortunately, I never bothered to get it because I thought the $40 price tag was high back then. We got to remember this was before I actually got a job, so $40 back then was a lot of money to me. And of course, there's only so many games you could trade in. In fact, I couldn't even trade in my games because I had to get my parent to come in and be next to me. And of course, they're not too keen on the idea of me trading in a bunch of games. But hey, that's GameStop. They they knew what they were doing. They knew the kind of people that they were appealing to. Actually, since we're here, I might as well put these games in actual cases. So I'm gonna put this one. Okay, let's put let's actually put Fire Emblem in here. This one, and then the other one can have. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So now I just got to keep in mind that these are not actually the actual games. But oh well. But yeah, that pretty much does it for my entire physical collection, guys. I know this video has gone on long enough, but I still have a bit to go. And yeah, I still have quite a number of games to go on my Nintendo 3DS system. Now let's see if I can actually get the system to boot up, because I did actually buy a whole bunch of games, so much so that I ran out of space. But rather than getting another SD card, micro SD card, what I did was I basically just got a 128 gigabyte micro SD card, used some software to format it, into the correct format. And yeah, here's my 3DS. Let's actually go into the games. Okay, here's the games. So we have, if my 3DS can load up. Yeah, so I actually got this game through Club Nintendo. Animal Crossing New Leaf. The physical copy I have was a second copy. This is actually how I experienced the game for the first time. Unfortunately, I lost a bit of time with this because actually I wasn't able to play this for a while because what happened was my sister accidentally broke my 2DS, so I couldn't play this for a while. Um, next up we have Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, which depending on who you ask is the better version. Ironically, because you don't have to use any of the motion controls, and it also has like a new difficulty to make the game a little less uh, hard for newcomers. This is one of the first 3DS games I got. Project Cross Zone. Unfortunately, yeah, this is one of those games that got delisted because of licensing issues. But also, it's one of the few games where if you delete it off your 3DS, you lose it forever. There is no re-downloading this, which honestly, really dumb is really dumb. I paid for this. I should be able to re-download it, which is an unfortunate reality of an all-digital future. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Shadow Wars. I still haven't finished this, but I actually enjoyed it. Next up, we have Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth, which I'm not going to touch because I want to go through Persona 3 and 4 before so I can understand the story. Same with Persona Q2 as well. Next up, we have the Mega Man Legacy Collection, which I kind of regret getting now because I could just get it very cheaply, literally everywhere else. But I saw that they were having a sale on the 3DS eShop, so I kind of just decided, you know what, it's only a couple bucks. Next up, we have Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology, which is a remake of a DS game. Stellar Glow, I think this is one of the last games made by a certain developer before they went bankrupt. Can't remember. Seventh Dragon 3, Code VFD, and Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Yeah. Again, in the case of Shovel Knight, I didn't have to get it, but I got it anyways. I could have just, yeah, there's definitely some regrets with some of the games here. I got a whole bunch of demos here, yeah, which you can probably see. Yeah, there's so many demos here, just a lot, so much so that I don't want to. But obvious, and what's funny is that some of these demos actually have exclusive, can actually carry over to your to the main game, which was a very new concept back then. And of course, some of these demos, including Resident Evil Revelations, was different to the actual retail release. And in the case of like the Bravely Default demos, they actually feature exclusive portions. So they feature content that is not featured in the in the in the actual retail release. So you could get items in some of these demos and then bring them over to the full retail release, which is rather interesting. You got some video. Okay, got some videos. Yeah, you can see my 3DS is kind of lagging a bit here because obviously I got a massive card. So I got 6. You're gonna have to excuse my 3DS. It's lagging because I have a massive card in here. Micro SD card. So I have on the Virtual Console side. I have the Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Season. I have also the Oracle of Ages. I've only played Oracle of Ages. I have the original Super Mario Brothers 3. I have the original Link's Awakening on Game Boy Color. I have the very first Kid Icarus game. And I also have Kirby's Dream Land. Yeah, so in the case of Link's Awakening and Kid Icarus, those were, I think, Club Nintendo games I got. Yeah, I think those were Club Nintendo games I got. Everything else, I think I got I by paying for it. DSi, not much to say. I got Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Minis March Again, bunch of piano games. Oh yeah, I also got Zelda Four Swords Anniversary Edition, which was made available for free for a very brief amount of brief 4-day window, and I got it. Unfortunately, you cannot get this game anymore. Art Academy First Semester, WarioWare Touched DL. Yeah, this was a DSiWare game, which is certainly interesting. So I got a bunch of free-to-play games here, which obviously you can't get anymore because the 3DS eShop has been shut down, which sucks. I played Pokemon Shuffle quite a bit. Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, Ironfall Invasion, Picross, Pokemon Picross, Steel Divers Sub Wars, which is a sequel to Steel Divers, which was also a launch title. This one has free to play. Was one of the first like free to start Nintendo games, as they call it, which I think is a more accurate term for some of these games. You know, it's free to start, but if you want to, but then some of the game, but for some games, you have to pay to actually play more of it. Nowadays, it's more so that it's free to play, but you got to buy all this microtransactions to actually do stuff. Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, you actually haggle in this game for some of the items, which is interesting. Pokemon Rumble World, the Nintendo Badge Arcade, which is where you actually you can actually pay real money to get badges for your 3DS system, which is certainly interesting. And it's so much, I mean, if I can give credit where credit is due, at least I can decorate my 3DS home menu. Unlike the Switch, which is still packing that generic black and white background, even after 7 years, which is so disappointing. Metroid Prime Blast Ball, which was I believe originally bundled, which was also bundled with Metroid Prime Federation Force, which everyone seemed to hate because it's not what they were looking for. And then we have Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge, which basically required the amiibos to work. Yeah, I got plenty more here as well. Oh my goodness. I might have to split this up. Yeah, so, okay, let's actually start at the beginning. We have The Legend of Zelda, My Nintendo Picross, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, which you only get through, I think, Club Nintendo or My Nintendo. Oh, yeah, My Nintendo. Yeah, it even says, yeah, My Nintendo. Unfortunately, you can no longer get this. So if you have it, you got yourself a rare bit of software now. Attack of the Friday Monsters, A Tokyo Tale. I actually played this. It was pretty fun. Darts Up 3D. Kind of regret getting this one. I got this one for... I remember this was put on sale because then Nintendo president Satoru Iwata passed away, and it's a fun distraction. Jet Rocket 2, The Wrath of Takai. Yeah, this is actually a sequel to a Wii game. And then finally we have Liberation Maiden, a game that that piqued my interest. Oh right, we also saw some Monster Hunter games here. I got Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, which I already had on Wii U, but I decided to pick it up on 3DS as well. A digital copy of Monster Hunter 4, which I kind of regret getting now because I have a physical copy, and the only reason I got this was because it was cheap. Monster Hunter Generations, which also got an updated version on Switch. I kind of regret this as well because, again, could have got this on Switch instead. Thankfully, you can transfer the data between the 3DS and Switch version, which is nice. And there's also this app that allows you to transfer your data between the 3DS and Wii U version of Monster Hunter 3 as well, which is neat. Okay, let's see here. I got what is this one? Oh, I got the Box Boy trilogy here. I got Box Boy, I think. And next up we have Box Boy, and then Bye Bye Box Boy. I got the Pushmo trilogy as well, so Pushmo, Crashmo, and Stretchmo. I got all the I got pretty much just about all the Phoenix Wright games that you can get, except the crossover with Professor Layton. So you got the Ace, which I kind of regret this because, again, could have waited. Same with the Apollo Justice, which got a recent remaster on Switch, along with Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. I could have waited. I could have waited for these, but I picked them up because they were cheap and the 3DS eShop was closing. Definitely kind of fell into the fear, got into the, was a victim of FOMO on that one, on those ones. Next up, we have the Etrian Odyssey games. I have Etrian Odyssey 4, Legends of the Titan, Etrian Odyssey Untold, The Millennium Girl. This and Etrian Odyssey 2, Untold, The Fair Night. Yeah, these two are remakes of like the DS games, and recently they actually remastered the first 3 Etrian Odyssey games, but they chose the DS versions over the 3DS versions, which is certainly an interesting choice. So basically, if you have the 3DS version, well, you basically have 2 very special pieces of software that you can no longer get. Of course, we have Etrian Odyssey 5, Beyond the Myth, and finally Etrian Odyssey Nexus. There's also a Etrian Dungeon Master or Mystery Dungeon, which unfortunately got delisted, so I don't have that. Yeah, so that's oh yeah, and I also have some RPG Maker. I got Netflix. I got Nintendo Video, Pokemon Bank. I did not get. Unfortunately, I don't have Pokemon Transporter, so that's kind of why I never bothered getting any of the Pokemon Game Boy, the Virtual Console re-releases of the Pokemon games, because I don't have Poke Transporter. I didn't want to pay for it. Oh yeah, and I also have 2 more games here: Rhythm Thief and The Emperor's Treasure. This one I heard was actually a bit of a hidden gem. And then finally, Yokai Watch 3, which alongside Persona Q2 were some of the very last games ever, major releases of the system's life. Yeah, I actually had to play this a bit just to get some items that you could only unlock by progressing into the game. But yeah, it's actually a fun game. Such a shame what happened to it, though. I mean, for heaven's sakes, by this, I mentioned earlier, the timing of these releases were terrible. Like, seriously, this one came out in January of 2019. No one was playing on their 3DS at this time. Not even the remake of Bowser's Inside Story did well. That one did so poorly that the company that made it went bankrupt, which is so heartbreaking. Because the games are generally pretty good. But yeah, that pretty much does it for for my entire Nintendo 3DS collection. Considering how long this video has gone on, like we're almost at an hour and 10 minutes here. Can you really blame me for not wanting to make another one of these for so long? I'm actually running out of breath here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, I haven't even shown off my my other 3DS consoles, but honestly, I don't even want to do. This video is already long as it is, so I'm not even going to bother. But yeah, you know, what can I say that hasn't already been said? I really enjoyed the 3DS. I have a lot, and I'm sure that I can, assuming my 2DS over here doesn't break down, I got a lot to get through, and I have definitely enough games to last me a lifetime if I wanted to. But with that said, guys, if you've actually stuck around for the full 1 hour and nearly 10 minutes, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for sticking around. But yeah, with all that said, guys, if you like this video and want to see more, as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. So yeah, take care. I probably won't be doing one of these for a while.